This evening is a continuance of the vicious dog hearing that was originally held on February 8th. This meeting is recorded and can be found on the Fact TV and also on YouTube because this is considered to be an open hearing and we are following the open meeting law here in the state of Vermont. Each of you should sign in as a notepad that's coming around. And there's also on your chairs, if you don't have one, please come up and get one. This is a copy of the rules and procedures that we will undergo in order to run this vicious dog hearing. So you'll need that in order to be sworn in shortly. Okay, the purpose of this meeting, the Select Board of the Town of Brookline is required by 20 VSA paragraph 3546 to conduct a hearing for domestic pet or wolf hybrid when it has bitten a person while the domestic pet or wolf hybrid is off the premises of the owner or keeper, the person bitten requiring medical attention for the attack, and the person bitten has filed a written complaint with the Select Board. The purpose of these rules is to establish uniform procedures for conducting such vicious domestic pet or wolf hybrid hearings and to ensure the compliance with Vermont's open meeting law. These rules and procedures shall apply to all vicious and domestic pet or wolf hybrid hearings conducted by the Town of Brookline Select Board. A copy of these rules shall be provided to each party bringing a complaint before the Select Board, and that's the paperwork that I put on your seats, and there are extra ones here. The Chair of the Select Board, or in my absence, the Vice Chair, shall conduct all vicious domestic pet or wolf hybrid hearings, and if both the Chair and the Vice Chair are absent, a member of the Select Board quorum. We do have a quorum. We have 4 people. We only need 3 for a quorum to this evening. The Chair shall rule in all questions in order and procedure. The Chair may exclude any irrelevant, unreliable, or unnecessary repetitive evidence. Relevant evidence is any verbal testimony or document that tends to demonstrate the innocence or guilt of the domestic pet or wolf hybrid subject to the complaint. Reliable evidence is any relevant evidence commonly relied upon by reasonably prudent people in the conduct of their affairs. All vicious domestic pet or wolf hybrid hearings shall be conducted in the following sequence. Opening of the hearing by reading the warning notice of the hearing, reading the complaint received and reminding all present that this hearing is mandated by state law and it will be conducted in an orderly manner and that all statements must be directed to the Chair. At the completion of, ask the complainant and the respondent if he or she has received a copy of these rules of procedure and whether he or she has any questions on how the hearing will proceed. Do each of you have a copy of the rules? Yeah, excellent. Do you have any questions before the rules? No. Okay, I have to ask the Select Board. Next, is there any reason that any of you need to be recused from this? Do you have any conflicts of interest in this case?
No.
At this point now, I'm going to read the warning that was sent by certified mail. Dog owned by Beverly Waters, the Select Board of the Town of Brookline, Vermont will hold a public hearing pursuant to 20 VSA 3546 on Thursday, February 8th, 2018 at 7:15 p.m. in the Town Hall located on Grassy Brook Road in Brookline, Vermont, to hear evidence and receive testimony on a complaint of a vicious dog concerning a dog named Gucci, owned by Beverly Waters, presently residing at 92 Merrill Drive, Brookline, Vermont, 05345. And this meeting tonight is a continuance. We suspended the meeting on the 8th so that Beverly would feel well. And we had 3 meetings that night, so this is the second part of that particular meeting. All right, the complaint, you have it right to hear the complaint. The complaint is, my name is Jessica Barr, and I'm writing to make a complaint against a dog. I was bitten this past Friday January 5th, 2018 at 92 Merrill Drive on Brookline, Vermont by a pit bull that I believe is owned by my landlord, Beverly Waters. I rent a home a few houses down here at 74 Merrill Drive. I was told that the dog had all of its shots but have not seen any proof. I was treated at Grace Cottage Emergency Room that evening and again for a follow-up on Sunday, January 7th, 2018. My injuries consist of some surface scratches and bruising to my right arm because that's where he went to bite first and didn't get a good hold. And then went for my right leg, causing multiple punctures and severe bruising and obviously bleeding. Thank you for your time in reading this, and please do be careful. The dog is vicious. That information was sent to the animal control officer, and the animal control officer, this is Nancy Waters, Nancy Libby, and she emailed me that information, so that's what we have. Okay, so we went through there. All right, at last meeting, everyone was sworn in. We need to do that at this time. If you intend to speak, to give any sort of evidence tonight, and you're not on the select board, you need to be sworn in. So please rise if you plan on giving any evidence, and Guy Tanza, our town clerk and notary, will have you read. If you take that form that you have on the back, it gives you what you're going to be reading. So Guy will handle that.
Okay. If everyone would stand, and we'll do this all at once, and then everyone can take the oath. Would you mind standing? And if you want to submit evidence, that's fine, but I'd like to get everyone sworn in and do it just one time. So do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. You know that everyone stood and accepted that oath. All right, at this point, we're looking down on the sheet, following the rules of procedure here. Accept written information from the complainant presented to the select board. At the last meeting, the evidence was handed in, and we have the evidence pile here. It included emails and photographs and so on and so forth that were collected since the complaint was received. The complainant was present to give oral testimony to the select board, and the select board did ask questions of the complainant. At this point, we are at part I, Beverly, and it says, invite the domestic pet or wolf hybrid owner, and you're known as the respondent, or your representative, to respond to evidence that was presented. The evidence that was presented in summary was the following. On January 25th, there was a photo and evidence of a dog bite, that a vicious dog, your dog did bite a minor, Alicia Reed's daughter of Beverly Murphy. That dog, remember, we took the dog and we put it in Nancy's car, and we tried to find a vet that would take the dog for 10 days because we didn't have documentation of rabies. So that was the first piece of evidence. Then we had, evidence that we called into testimony was a dog bite that occurred on May 21st, 2015, in which State Trooper Travis Valcourt, who is present in the room, was bitten by your dog while conducting basic business at your home. In the line of duty. So that was information about that particular instance. Then we had evidence that was entered into, material that was entered into evidence in June of 2015, a letter from Tracy Brooks, which she submitted information about her son Matthew Brooks that was bitten by your pit bull in June of that month in 2015 and was treated at Grace Cottage for puncture wounds. So that was June 2015, and the last one was January 5th of 2018, in which the complainant submitted her information, including a letter of documentation from her doctor at Grace Cottage Hospital, the original complaint form, the hearing request, the letter or the warning that was sent, so copy of your animal license, which he is licensed, and I think his rabies doesn't expire for a couple of years since you, we're all caught up on that.
Yep.
So that was evidence. Also put into evidence were the 8 municipal tickets that we went to court in January for various for nuisance dog complaints that were accumulating for your dogs, and those were put into evidence. These are just letters that we had sent to you. So these letters, copies of correspondence that I had with you over BT were put into evidence, as well as photographic documents of the bite for Jessica's injury, Barbara Murphy's minor's injury, the state trooper, dialogue again, just emails that were about the evidence. So at this point, put this all together in a file. We invite you, as the owner or the respondent, to respond to this evidence or to provide evidence that your dog is a canine good citizen or has redeeming value.
Well, I wanted to elaborate on Tracy Brooks. Now, if my dog was so vicious, why was he allowed to reside there 4 months following the dog bite that occurred? And she's a foster parent, so he stayed living there. I have a statement from him as well, so I want to enter that as evidence.
All right, you can bring that up. I normalize this as evidence number 1. Gwen, Kansas, that should be my secretary and all.
Thank you.
And then we'll take a look at that. I, Matthew Brooks, it's not notarized though.
I happened to meet up with them at an unexpected place, so the notary public they just did court things. But he said he would definitely, if you guys needed to meet him. And
It has to be tonight. This is the last night of the hearing.
Okay, well, that is from him.
Okay. All right, well, it's not notarized, but we can decide during our deliberations whether or not it would be considered supportive, okay? It gives a name and address and such. All right.
Alicia. The next one is, you guys had mentioned Alicia Reed. So this is actually the night I watched the video. We messaged her on Facebook, that's her Facebook, and she had said Gucci never bit her.
They emailed us a picture of the bite.
That's from her, that's a picture of her.
It's not notarized. All right, we will.
She's
Item
having
number
some
2.
she's having health issues, so I didn't really want to,
This is a picture of her. Doesn't say anything.
Yeah, right there, Anthony asked if Gucci had bit her, and she said no. It's in the Facebook messages, because I was shocked when I heard that.
All right, we got.
The next one is Ava's doctor's report.
Isn't Alicia the one that we took the dog from you?
No.
Alicia, what do you? No, that was a dog bite. That was another dog.
Who was the January dog that we took?
That was probably another dog. It wasn't a human. It was,
When
That's
she
what it
took the dog in January,
that was another dog bite.
No.
Yes,
That was when,
who did the dog bite?
another dog.
I think Barbara Murphy's dog.
Right.
Yes. Am I right?
I think that is right. That it was a dog, we never
Ava's medical report. This is actually, that goes to it too. This is just for Facebook to prove it's Alicia.
One second,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. I was told that the dog bit.
Wait a minute. Did you give her 2 copies? Because maybe that's the
All right.
Sorry.
No dog. So,
Oh, there.
okay, initially put into evidence was an email that was current back in February, a few days after the dog bite, that indicated that the dog bit the girl.
Relative on.
That bit the girl, not that the dog bit another dog.
Is it
And
Okay,
and
then-
they're-
Relative.
Then what?
Kylie, is that right? Is that the name?
and that there was a picture of that wound that was submitted.
I believe that was Alicia Reed that you're talking about. And that's her on Facebook.
Alicia Reed.
That's her on Facebook. She said Gucci never bit her.
Okay, but she sent an email.
No, that was Kayla
Kayla
that
sent-
sent an
Kayla.
email. Not Alicia herself, because I questioned her about that too, or my son did.
Who's Kayla?
Kayla is...
Kayla Maskell, she's the one who sent the letter saying that
She's
Alicia.
not here tonight?
No.
She wasn't at the last one either.
No.
Ava's report. Sorry.
Right?
No, Ava's medical report.
Can I just ask a follow-up? Are we gonna ask questions of these as they're coming, or
Oh.
we're gonna wait? Okay.
All right,
No, no,
that's fine.
we don't have
Actually,
to.
that's
I just-
fine. What we're looking at here, you know, I'm no expert in
Well, let's wait.
this,
Let's
but
wait and do it all.
like the... Okay.
No, I agree. It'll be easier, it'll be less confusing if we wait.
So you can go through your evidence and then the select board will ask you questions based on what you handed in. Okay.
The next one you said was a minor that got bit, and I believe that the one you're talking about is Ava, and it was actually a neighbor's dog and my dog, and it states in there that there's no name being pointed at, whether it was Gucci or the neighbor's dog. And that was at the hospital, that's in the notes.
This is, so let it be known that this is a position note dated January 20th, 2015 regarding the dog bite of Karen Cusiato. So this is another person that I didn't know got bit.
No, that's the one she had mentioned that animal control was called for, because animal control was involved in it. And you said it was a minor, that you didn't give a name, but I guarantee that that's who you're talking about. And
Remember a minor. Who are we talking about?
This is the January 20th when the dog was removed from you and put into her car.
oh, so then that's the medical report, and it even states in there that it was Gucci and another dog in a fight. And it was never stated that it was Gucci that bit my
This
granddaughter.
is from Grace Cotton. This is from a doctor, a physician note. It's for treating a human being, not a dog.
What she's saying is the day that's in question, 2 dogs were in a fight and Ava got in the middle of it.
You guys brought up a minor at the last meeting. I don't know what minor you were talking about, it was unnamed.
I will
So-
go here.
So that proves that
Jan
it
and minor
wasn't.
Alicia Reed's REEDS, related to Barbara Murphy. That was the information that we were given as evidence on that day. And that's
Okay.
what this pertains to. And that's what that pertains to.
Okay.
This is, and who is Karen?
I have no idea.
That's a patient being treated.
No, it's Ava. Her name is Ava. That's
Oh,
probably
I'm sorry.
a nurse.
That's the nurse. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
Statements from the neighbors next.
They're not notarized.
It's okay, they're still statements. All these people work all the time, so it's hard for them to get places. These are all neighbors and people that have noticed my no trespass and beware of dog signs.
Did you bring pictures of those,
Yes, I did. Yep.
All right, so this one is, we have notices here of Matthew DeFrancesco, Christopher Thomas, and Bernard Arbuckle, and Kenneth Feline. However, they're not notarized. That's the concern, because in evidence, unless they show up themselves.
I'm actually here.
Chris is here.
Okay,
Christopher Thomas.
I'm sorry, you are who?
Christopher Thomas.
Christopher Thomas. So we're going to separate that one out as its own piece. Okay, and so that would be number 4.
I have a question for you.
And then we'll have these other 3, we'll paperclip these 3 together as number 5, so that when we talk and deliberate, we can separate the who's here and who wasn't here.
Kenneth was gonna try to make it. He works late, so he said I would definitely try, because he's very familiar with my dog.
I'm sorry, did you want to say something, sir?
Yes, please. I have a question. I understand the importance of it being notarized, but maybe I'm wrong, but watching the video from the last meeting on the 8th, there was only one
Letter that came in.
notarized.
There was only one person who
Right,
couldn't be
but
here.
you have pictures of an email
They're not notarized.
that are notarized about a bite that isn't even proven that it's Gooch, because Alicia Reed even said it's not. So that's Kayla.
Well, that's something we will deliberate on as far as how much weight can be placed on any.
Because it's very simple. So if you're saying if it's notarized, then it's the truth that they've given her.
Well,
But if it's not-
that they wrote, that's what a notary tells you, identifies that the person is indeed,
Exactly.
who they are.
So, somebody writing a letter and saying, here's a picture of Gooch biting isn't official if it's not notarized.
Correct.
Now, we've got, we've got.
In the same way that the letter.
Exactly.
What you're presenting that is
Exactly.
notarized from
Okay.
people who aren't present.
Okay.
Is the same thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we try to be as fair as possible.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's fair, because I kind of feel that this may be a little bit of a witch hunt, and I'm going to say one thing. On February 14th, my wife was on the road taking pictures of a statement that Adam Hall had given.
I don't know.
Nicole, his wife Nicole, was called, well, he called you, and, get me wrong, but you are animal control, correct?
That's correct.
Now,
But wait, we're just doing the evidence right now. I'm sorry, you got to just follow through and then we'll give you a chance.
okay,
All right, I appreciate that. All right, so they're entering in, when were the pictures of trees where it was posted? 3 pictures of posted trees. And this is Gucci? Pictures of the dogs.
That is Gucci with my grandbabies. Yeah.
This is, okay. Cute. Okay. Thank you. What else?
Let's see, you gave all the statements from the neighbors. And I just wanted to add, there was a clause in our lease that states to pay the rent at 92 Merrill Drive unless otherwise stated, which she would usually text me. I would run up and get the rent, and that's how we usually get it. Matter of fact, the day that the bite occurred, I put a letter in her mailbox saying, my other phone broke, this is my new number, text me, and I'll come up and get the rent. That very same day that this all happened, I put one in her mailbox.
Okay, so what you're saying is, okay, I hear you.
The text messages too. And Jessica had stated that she's not able to text me. Some I wasn't able to get to because my phone broke, but those are clear texts that we're able to have clear communication on a regular basis.
Okay, we're gonna enter this in as photocopies of text messages between, how do I know who they're between?
You can ask her if that's her phone number.
Can you give me the last 4 digits of your phone number?
1985.
Okay. I also. Same number. And let me see something else. And, hold on. And, okay. They're both the same number. Okay, then her select board and then you get a chance, okay? Yes, good. Anything else?
Now, I do want to add something. The day that this all occurred, Jessica was really nice to me after everything happened. I even went up to the house to check on her. I told her I would pay for the medical bills because it was my dog. And I called the hospital that night. Now, it was one bite. She told me on the porch that he had bit her here. And then at the hospital, she even told me again, she reiterated that it was 1 bite. Now, in a month and a half's time, it's went to 2 bites. So I'm just kind of curious where the other bite came from. Because she told me that day he jumped on her. Not that he had bitten up here at all. So I'm just curious how, and she even said, her quotes were on the phone at Grace Cottage when I called her. I called and left a message. I said, I'm really concerned. This is Beverly Waters, and I just want to make sure she's okay. She even called me back. Nice as pie. She said accidents happen. Now, it went from accidents to a vicious attack. Which is it? I know if a dog viciously attacked me, I wouldn't be that nice to the owner, honestly. I probably wouldn't want to talk to that owner, and she called me right back. I put a get well card in her mailbox. I did everything that I could as an owner to show that I was concerned about her injuries.
I appreciate that. At this point, I'm going to ask the select board if they would like to address any concerns or questions. Are you finished?
You had finished saying about my being.
Right.
Okay, now you call
Go
it.
ahead, go ahead.
Before deliberating.
What's
Hang
that?
on.
Can you state your name before you talk to
Jeff Thomas.
And you're related.
I am Beverly's husband.
You just cut him off, so
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's true.
All right, so at this point, I will ask. Are you, we can always go back. Beverly, when we talk, and we'll give you an opportunity again to discuss anything that you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any select board members? David, do you have something you wanted to share maybe?
Well, I guess to start, I guess I would appreciate it if, could you describe what happened the day that Jessica was bitten?
Well, like I said, I put the note in the mailbox, and
So sorry, you would put a note in
her mailbox.
her mailbox?
Yeah, her mailbox, and just stating that my other phone had broken. It was the 5th, so I knew she'd be paying rent, pretty soon. And I said, can you text me and I'll come up and pick up the rent. So I was not expecting anybody. We pretty much just have us. We don't have a lot of people come over. And then I heard my dog barking, so I said, Gooch, hold on, Gooch, hold on. I also have pictures of the house. Now, Jessica said I stated her name. And as you can see, the door that she was at, I couldn't even see who was there. So I don't know how I could have said Jessica when I couldn't see her. Because the window where there's a little window is higher than where I could see. No. Okay, so. Here we go. There's 2 doors, and this is the one that she was at, which you can see where the glass is taller than I am. And then this is the door that we usually use.
Is this the door, the front door?
This is where most people come in and out.
Where I come to. That is the door.
No, you didn't come, this is a different house. You came to 74, that's 92. It was the same type of door though.
Okay.
You're right.
Before we end, could you just confirm where you, which door you recognize?
I can't because that's from the inside of the home.
Yeah, not from the outside?
The door's the same color.
Well, were you,
Oh, you're saying this door with the 9 lights versus this one with the arc?
Correct.
she was at the
You were
arc
at the
one.
door that has a solid wood door, which is the lighted stuff, versus a door that has a lot of openings in it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask you to label this one as door Jessica knocked at.
That doesn't show the outside where I was standing.
Here.
So how do you even know that that's the front door?
And this is the door that you came out of the house. And you're saying this door's
Yes.
on the side of the house and
Yes.
you walked around?
Yep.
All right, so this is the door she came to?
Correct, that's the door she knocked at.
And this is the door.
That Beverly and the dog escaped out of. That's the door the dog ran
Yeah.
out of.
Yep.
Okay.
Because we have 3 doors.
David, anything else you'd like to?
Well, I guess I'd like you to continue describing what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard Gucci barking, so Gucci barks one of 3 things. He has to go to the bathroom, he's missing me, he has like stranger anxiety. Has to go to the bathroom or somebody's at the door. So I came to the bottom of my steps, I was upstairs in the bathroom, and it'll show how the stairs go up. And I came downstairs, I looked to the right, and there was nobody at my door. So I proceeded to bring Gucci out to go to the bathroom. That was my next step. I had a hold of his collar, I couldn't find his leash, so I had a hold of his collar, and as soon as we went through the door, I could tell that probably somebody was there, because he is a territorial dog, but there's a difference between vicious and territorial. And I did lose my grip. And I apologized to Jessica and told her, I'm sorry, I lost the grip of him, and he pushed through the door.
And this was the door,
The one with the 9 panes, not the other one.
not the door that Jessica had knocked at.
Nope, that one.
Okay. So then,
Maybe if I describe the outside of the house, you might be able to get a better picture.
no, it's fine. I guess what I just want to clarify is, so you lost the grip of the dog.
Yes.
The dog ran from the door that
Around
he was
the
going
Down the
out.
stairs, around the corner of the house, and back up to the other side of the stairs where the deck is, where the door
Okay.
that she was at.
There she was.
So he went like this, around, and then up the stairs.
Okay.
I do want to add one thing too, is when Jessica moved in, she sent me a text. She sent me a text stating that if I could make sure that one of them were there, and if I could text her before I came up, because she has a very territorial dog, and she wouldn't want anything to happen. So we have discussed territorial dogs, and that we both have them. That's why we had a system that was working. She would text me, I'd run up and get them. That's how it was. She had never been at my house before, as far as I was home, and that I knew of.
Can I ask, so you have a lease agreement with her?
Yeah.
And what is the address that's listed as your address on the lease
92
agreement?
Maryland Drive.
Okay. Is there anything in the lease agreement that says she should not come to your house? Or is there a method of how she's supposed to pay you
Well, she
that's
would,
laid out in the lease
like I
agreement?
said, she would text me every month, and then I would go up and get it.
So that's what's documented in the lease agreement? That's how she's supposed to pay you?
Well, it says It says,
Do we have a copy of the lease? Or we have a copy machine here if you need to.
oh yeah, if you could get us a copy, just because I didn't have. Okay, it says rent will be paid to Jeffrey Thomas at 92 Merrill Drive or at such other place as landlord designates. So that's a clause in there. Kind of like something.
That's such other place. Okay.
Such other place
But it
as.
doesn't say how, it doesn't specify that
No, it was pretty much like
how
she
the rent
said.
is supposed to be paid or that
Like
the
she had.
tenant is supposed to text you prior to arranging for the rent to be paid.
Well, like she had mentioned in the video that I prefer that I go up and get it. And
Yeah.
that was pretty much how we
Yeah.
did it each month.
Okay, but I understand, but there's nothing, I'm just saying,
No, no.
there's nothing in the lease
No.
that says she shouldn't come to your house.
No, there's
pay the
nothing
rent,
states that
is that-
says you can't come to my house,
Okay,
no.
okay, that's cool.
So there's just word opinion that
Kind of like a verbal
you had a
agreement.
verbal agreement,
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
You could respond to that later. I'll wait for, I have two questions, I'll wait for Doc to come back.
Thank you.
I copied the same side twice, sorry. All right, so we will take, this is item number, residential lease item number 10? Yep. 10, item number 10. Anybody else? Mr. Mello?
I have two questions. The first question, after looking at the pictures and the information, which I'm thoroughly absorbing, is the dog fixed?
No.
Okay. And if a person comes to your residence, an independent person, it could be a Jehovah's Witness, it could be anybody. Or any, let me put it this way. If somebody approaches you or your dog and they act fearful, I know my wife has a fear of dogs.
Yeah.
How does Gucci react?
I don't know because nobody's really been fearful. I mean,
So you haven't been in that situation, is what you're saying?
no, we've known Trevor Maskell for 12 years now, and he's been around Gucci, and nobody
But what I'm saying
expresses
is a
fear.
person that would actually have a fear for dogs, like went up to the dog, oh, have you ever had that situation?
One time, but he was fine. I mean, he didn't attempt to bite or anything.
He growls because it's a stranger.
Yeah.
But once you introduce the person to him, he's usually fine.
Yeah.
Like Matt.
He just has to get to know that we're okay, we're safe.
I'm good for now.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Ms. Webb, select board.
So I have a few questions we can go through. So you said that Gucci's territorial. Is the dog trained at all to be defensive of the property, like to ever attack?
Oh, no. No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay. You saw the video? Both saw the video? So this can be either side. So you saw concerns from neighbors, including people who moved away, that are inherently fearful of Gucci. You have Terry Berger, who had moved away from Bush Lane. I know they seem to have concerns about letting their child outside because Gucci apparently roams the neighborhood.
He
You
hasn't
speak
for
to
like
that?
3 years. He hasn't for like, we had our little quarantine thing, and what was happening was my grandchildren come over and they would open the door. Well, most dogs go out the door.
Right.
So here I was chasing after them all the time. So we had a system, don't open the door unless I'm right here.
Okay.
Just because it's my dog, it should be on my property, it shouldn't be roaming around the neighborhood. But I had personal issues with them too, and they kind of left that out. Like, I've lived there for 12 years, and I have been talked about and degraded for 12 years, to the point where I want to sell both my properties and leave. And nobody should really feel like that. Nobody should feel that tormented by people. And that's how I feel, honestly.
And is it them or is it everyone that was here that day?
Don't live there, you know?
Yeah, actually, Adam came up to our house one night, and Adam just walked in our house. He came over to have a beer with my husband. He walked in the house and Gooch was in there, and I was hoping Adam would be here tonight.
Who's that?
Adam was the one that was here at the last meeting. Adam Hall.
Okay, gotcha.
He walked in my house. Gooch was in the house. Gooch wasn't in a cage. He just walked in my house.
Was this post-bite?
What's that?
Was this post this bite or some other?
Oh, yeah, this was like,
Yeah, this was about a year and a half ago.
Oh,
Year?
okay.
About a year.
So
yeah.
before this bite?
Yeah.
Yes. And Gooch didn't do anything. He didn't bark. He didn't go towards him. You know, he kind of got a sense that it's okay. We know him and it's okay. I was really hoping he'd be here tonight so that we could question him about that because that's one thing I thought was pretty funny that he would have stated something like that when he had been in my home with Gucci and had never expressed concerns before this.
And he showed up unannounced to talk to me about a few things, and he even said, hey, why don't you come out here with me and have a beer with me?
Okay.
So he actually sat in his car in the driveway and had a beer.
There were secondhand stories about someone, I believe, who was holed up in their shed or something, and another story about like, and I'm not remembering who this happened to, the Gucci like banging into the door of someone's house.
That was Marilyn Pearson. When we went to the tent, that was that and the unlicensed ticket were the only two tickets that were upheld by the judge in Brattleboro. And that was ticket number, last two numbers were 19, which was Marilyn Pearson, the dog being on her deck and charging the door, and ticket number 20 was the unlicensed that 1 year, which you paid.
Yeah.
You paid those
You
funds.
speak. You had a look when I mentioned the person holed up in the shed.
It wasn't a shed.
Because I can guarantee I know who that is because her husband threatened to hit me one day and my husband got involved. And since then, there's been issues. That's actually why I moved off the
The
74
reason I
mile
made
drive.
that face is because I find it hard to believe, and I think anybody here would, that if you're held up for 4 hours, what was said on the video, in a shed in the middle of the summer, I think that when you had a chance to get out, you would notify the town, you'd notify law enforcement, you would call animal control or something.
You'd be at this meeting right now.
Exactly.
If I was held up for 4 hours, I would be at this meeting making sure something is done about it.
Right. And it is secondhand, so we'll take that into account. Did you have I had one more.
Oh, okay.
While we're at it, could you, I guess, Jeff, explain witch hunt? Because you were starting to go.
Yes, like I started to say, on February 14th, Bev was on the road taking pictures of where Nicole had stated Gucci was, not on her property, but on the road. And when she called for Gucci, he stopped and came back. On the 14th, she happens to notify you via phone that my wife is taking pictures.
So who notified? I'm sorry.
Nicole called Nancy, okay? My question is why would she call you when there's not an animal control issue to be handled? If someone was outside my yard taking pictures of my property or wherever, I think I would call law enforcement or something like that, which I don't understand why she didn't recommend that. She just said, I'll call Beverly and see what's going on. There's no reason for her to get involved on that picture.
That's a point well taken.
Honestly.
When she called me, I said, and I called and I was perfectly friendly with you. I was saying,
Oh, I'm not saying
you
you
did.
weren't. I'm just saying, I just don't think it's
And no, but when I asked Beverly, and I think you will agree to this, is there anything that I should be aware of? Like,
Yeah,
is
you
something
did ask
else, has something
Yeah.
happened that I need to be aware of? I was not calling to say
no, I
that
know.
you're doing something wrong, don't do it, you can't do that. I did not.
No, you were very pleasant, I have to tell you that.
And I want to point out that I represent the town as the animal control officer, and
No, I know.
I'm not out to get anybody. I do this because I love animals. I get a lot of phone calls, you know that. I don't want to go on your property. I am terrified of your dog. But I'm not out to get you, I'm not out to, I'm
But
just
you know what,
here
if
to.
you came on property and Gooch got to know you, you wouldn't be there.
Well, I'm missing, I'm
Let me,
missing the
okay,
foot of the
we
witch
need
hunt.
to, okay, but I know that, because you're,
That's what I'm uncomfortable.
I just want to say
I wish that'd
that
be cleared up. Go ahead, Nancy.
it's not the ACO against you, I represent the town.
I can clarify the witch hunt. For 12 years, my husband's been talked about. My husband passed away unfortunately 6 years ago. Nicole, always, if I rent out my home, she tends to always friend the people that I rent to and talks bad about me. Matter of fact, the night Adam was coming to our house, it was because I had to go defend myself to Nicole. Now, I'm 48 years old. Why should I have to defend myself about the type of person I am? I don't bother anybody else.
This has nothing to do with this.
No, but that's what the witch hunt
Clarifying
is
the
about.
witch hunt, right. Clarifying the witch hunt.
Can I add one thing? On February 4th, I went up to Jessica's house, 74 Merrill Drive, and it took her approximately 10 minutes to get to the front door because she has a very territorial dog. Now, if her dog came and jumped on the door hard, am I to think that he's a vicious dog, or is he just a strong dog? What's the deal?
Can I, but her dog did not get out and bite you,
Right.
is that correct?
No.
Have you ever been bitten by an animal?
I have not, no. And that's why I offer to do everything as a concerned person can do. But when it goes from an accident to an attack, I wonder how that transpired.
We're still asking select board members, I know you're ready to, is anybody else, because I have a couple questions to ask, and then I'll open it up. Then we'll go to the claimant, and then we'll open it up to anybody else here in the room.
I have one more.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So when you say you lost the grip and Gucci ran up and then she was bitten, what would, I don't know how to phrase this exactly, but like what would cause Gucci's first reaction to be to go after her?
Well, with any territorial dog, they're going to protect their property. So he was going to see who was on the property that wasn't supposed to be there. He had a sense that I didn't. You know, dogs sense people on the property. You know, just like, why would Jessica tell me to text her before I go up there, make sure there's one person there? Territorial. They sense somebody and there's that opportunity where it may happen.
What I'm wondering about is like the bite. Like if I was walking by the property, would I expect that I would get attacked? Because what I'm just not understanding is like, so it sounds like Gucci just went after her. And I wasn't there, so.
I think what happened I think what happened was that Gucci sent someone who was outside. And when she was taken out, he's a strong dog, he's 100 pounds, he's all muscle. And if he wants to pull you, he will pull you, he will, he's strong. And I think that's what happened, he tried to get out the door because he heard something or something or someone. I think that's what happened.
Can I ask, normally when you let Gucci outside, do you just let him outside, not
Oh,
on
no.
a leash or not?
No, he's on a leash. I couldn't find it.
Not a leash.
He goes on a leash and then I bring him from a leash over to a chain in the driveway. But we've had several people come up there as far as like Matt DeFran. He comes up and visits all the time. Even, he moved away for 2.5 years and came back. Gooch remembered him. My stepson, Chris, had moved away to California for 2.5 years. He came back. Has Gooch ever tried to bite you?
What about like postal people, FedEx?
No.
GPS.
As far as I'm aware of, no.
And you get deliveries?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But you gotta stay true to it.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Got to, yeah.
Anything else? I'm gonna have my list.
So how old is Gucci? Because I'm looking at, I have a copy of the animal license that, the most recent animal license that you actually bought August 25th. So it was late, and it says he's 3 years, 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's probably around 4 now, close to 4.
I have a previous animal license from 2015, which says that he is 11 months old, so he doesn't, so it consists.
Around about, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
How many, where am I at? How many dogs do you own?
Well, my son got 2 puppies, so my son has 2 puppies, and then I have Gooch.
Has Gucci ever been bitten or attacked by another dog?
Yes.
Has Gucci?
Yes.
No.
Yes, yes, the neighbors.
The neighbors that time.
The neighbor's dog came over and bit him, and then he went after her.
Oh, the neighbor's one, yeah.
What neighbor?
I wasn't there. so-
Barbara Prevey.
Was her dog, when was this, when did that happen?
About 2.5 years ago, probably
This
2
is
years
not-
ago.
Was not reported to us, but that's what's interesting
Okay.
to know. I think we already established that your dog is unaltered, correct?
It's what?
He's an intact male. He's not neutered.
Yeah.
No, not neutered.
Okay. And we already asked you, he's not been trained to be aggressive.
No.
Another question to ask is abuse or neglect of the dog. I have to say something, Beverly. We got an awful lot of concern when you were at 74 about the dog being neglected outside, and that was one of the reasons why we had to bring you to the municipal court on that. So that's a concern about dogs' behaviors modified by how well it's taken care of. I do have to make note that there has been no complaints, and you have complied with the dog ordinance in the past year. We haven't had any issues with the dog wandering free, but that is a concern.
It's kind of weird how you go down to the other end of the road and there's no complaints, but the other end of the road, 74 way, there's complaints. It's kind of weird.
Dogs running around.
If it's,
And some of that neglect is like, we would put him outside, we'd go to clean, we'd go shopping, we'd do something else like that. And if it started raining, we're not home to put him in, so people were saying we left him out in the rain. I'm sure you've heard that complaint.
Yes, the
and stuff
rain
like
is
that.
no, the-
So when we get home, we put him inside. So that's not really a neglect, I mean,
These are questions-
we've taken that into consideration and we've changed things since you guys have gone to court over it.
Yep.
But
These are questions that I got through some legal advice to just to go over with you. Does your dog chase moving vehicles? I actually saw him with, I know one of you guys was driving the car and the dog was running outside. The car had gotten off the property, so I do know he'll chase a car.
Our car, yeah.
Yeah, the car.
right, so he wants to get in the, he wants to get in the car and he wants to go for a ride with you.
Right. The territorial and protection, I think we established, and I did speak to Jessica about her dog. In fact, in my New Jersey past, I owned with my husband a dog training company, and we trained attack dogs that dealt with went out with security guards in New York City. And so I did have Jessica bring her dog in for a temperament test. And he passed the temperament test that I was concerned about, because if you were going to her house to get the bill or the rent, I wanted to make sure that she, that was. So I did meet her dog. And I understand about territorial dogs and such, but not in this case. All right. What was the dog's last vet visit? Do you recall?
let's see,
The rabies.
so probably July.
For the baby.
It was shortly before,
July 19th.
yeah.
Okay. Have you had any change in the dog's physical appearance, health-wise, or demeanor recently?
No.
Okay. You already gave us some testimony of other people. I know we have a poor record of compliance in the past. I did state, though, that your recent, the dog has not been loose. We later on will talk about developing a protective order, and the concern is that you will comply with suggestions that we may come up with. We want to make sure that all animals are safely cared for and kept at home and not loose, that they are leashed and are current on their rabies and dog licensing, which right now is due. What is your legal address of residence?
It's 92 Merrill Drive. I still get mail at 74, but it goes into 92.
My question was, you were here
Excuse me.
just a couple of weeks ago, and we asked what your legal residence was.
I don't think you said
and
legal
number.
residence, you said, how can we contact you? Is it still the Florida address? And I said, no, just send it to 74 Merrill Drive. I believe that's how I answered you. I didn't say I lived there.
That would be implied if you lived there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Well,
doing
my
that.
mail still goes to 74 because I don't quite own the 92, but I'm going to. So they just are aware, so they put it in 92.
When did you post your yard? The picture?
Mom.
I mean, your son can at least answer
June,
because you are.
he put it up, so that's why he's
Okay,
answering it.
I'll start here.
You are Anthony, correct?
I'm Anthony Waters, and I posted the land about, I'd say a year and a half ago. And the reason I did that was because I know Gucci is very territorial of his house, you know what I mean? And I wanted people to know if they went onto the property to know that. And I put a beware of dog sign at the residence about 2.5 months ago.
Okay. And we saw some pictures of it. Is your yard fenced in any way?
Yeah, there's a white fence down at the end.
Is it an enclosed fencing or is it just
it's like a big
just a
fence.
decorative fencing?
Yeah.
And have you ever had to have a dog, has any of the dogs that you have owned in the past been euthanized by yourself or Humane Society for behavioral issues?
No.
Okay, yes, sir, and then we're gonna open it up.
Related to the signs, if I were on Merrill Drive and I were just walking by the house, would it be evident from the
Oh, yeah.
street? Because I couldn't tell.
It's right at the base of the end of the driveway.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you have a sign at all that says beware of dogs so people realize
two
that?
of them.
We've had one at the base of the driveway, right on top of the no trespassing.
But they've only been there a year and a
Since
half.
the incident, unfortunately, we just.
That's all we've been there.
We put another one at
So
the
that's why
driveway.
That's why
they,
you've
yeah,
been there.
that's why they've only been there a year and a half.
So there has been one.
You've been there that time.
I haven't been up
You got it?
there since 2015.
Yeah,
I have not been up there.
David?
More questions. So one thing I'm noticing is that the dog license says that has your address and the dog's address is 74 Merrill Drive, and this is from
yeah,
August
this
of
year
last
will be
year.
updated.
Okay, so
The new.
when this was in last August of 2017, were you residing at 74?
No, you know what it was? I didn't know if I could legally license him at 92 because it's actually in somebody else's name. And that's probably something that you
You did sign on here saying the dog was kept at that address.
Yeah,
Yeah.
92.
That makes a difference as to the premise, you know,
Yeah.
on and off premises where there's a dog bite, and that's why this hearing was granted.
Okay, just to clarify, so at that point, even in August, you weren't living at 74, you were living at 92, and that's where Gucci was living. Okay. The other question I have is, and you guys started to describe it, but maybe I think we got interrupted. Normally, when you take Gucci outside, for Gucci to be outside, what is your process for
There's a couple-
leashes?
There's a couple
or-
He
different processes.
takes me out most of the time.
Most of the time, I take him out, he listens to me, he walks with me, I don't use a leash.
Okay.
She does, the boys, they will just say, come, he comes.
Okay.
Sometimes they're holding him. I mean, there isn't a set protocol every single time, but he does go out on the leash with her because it's easier for her to handle, because he's a strong dog. Me, he listens to me undoubtedly about anything.
Okay.
So he will stay right with me.
And you guys described the points where you'll leave him outside and you will go somewhere. When you leave him outside and you're not there, how is he?
I'm home.
Well, if he's on a chain that's rated for 3,000 pounds, because he has chewed through, he's chewed through it before, dog run cables, he chews through them.
Okay.
So we actually got a chain that is rated for like 3,000 pounds.
Okay, so just to sort of summarize, when he's outside, he's either under voice control by you guys or on a leash or chained.
Correct.
There aren't circumstances where he's just outside and you're all inside and he's not chained?
No.
Okay.
Any longer. It has in the past, but
It was in the past, but like I
It
said,
passed
since
because
the
I've
other
seen
issues,
them out
we've
myself.
made adjustments on that.
So you remediated that in
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah.
So there was one thing that was mentioned at the last hearing, and who owns the puppies?
I do.
Okay. Someone mentioned they had seen the puppy out and about. Is this an occurrence?
Well, what he does is he brings them to Matt's house, which Matt lives down over the hill.
Let me tell.
Okay, go ahead.
I bring them to my friend's house, and I'm usually in the yard doing stuff with them. And sometimes they'll get up the hill, but I'm always right behind them.
Okay.
And Timothy, you got the statement from him. He lets the dogs run up there. My uncle lets the dogs come up to his house, so I try to keep it in that surrounding area while I'm outside, because I have visual contact on the dog.
Do they tend to listen?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to enter into evidence your animal license, which is, and I'm also going to enter into that the dog has its rabies shot. Those are the numbers, what?
11, I think.
11, 12.
Well, actually, it's the same.
Oh, it's the same thing, so 11, okay, so kind of that. Anything else, Select Board? We can come back to another round of questions.
Are you going to move on to discussion of?
I'm gonna let the complainant,
When does the copy?
I'm gonna let the complainant talk, and then I'll open it up to other members here. I know Mr. Canza and also Valport's here, and anybody else, and then we'll just do one more circle of conversation.
That makes sense.
Okay. At this point, we just finished Part J. Invite members of the public to, invite members of the respondent to representatives to respond. Invite select board members to ask questions, and invite members of the public to present any relevant information regarding the complaint. At this time, we'll ask if you would like to contradict or add anything else that came about since we last met 2 weeks ago. About the dog, about the agreements, about your lease, whatever.
I will say again that it was preferred that she come pick up the rent. That it was the 5th already, and I was worried about paying it late because we had already had to pay it late one time.
How long have you been there?
November 5th was our first day there.
So November, December, so this is just your 3rd month and you wanted to
Yeah.
pay, okay.
We had already had to pay it late once due to the fact that we lost one with the debit card. We had to wait for that to come in. So I did not want to pay it late. It was already 5th, and that's the reason I went there to pay it.
Is there a late fine for?
No.
What's the due date?
No. Just the 1st of the month,
Oh, it's not.
I believe. It could be the 5th, but
I think it states the 5th. We give them a little leeway.
Yeah, we're open with that.
maybe it's a great I prefer to pay it on the 1st of the month because I'm just used to paying it. And the day, January 5th, the day I went to go pay my rent there at 92 Merrill Drive, she was aware that it was me outside the door. I did state who it was, that I said who it was because the voice on the other side of the door asked who it was. She knew who it was and she knew somebody was there and she failed to restrain the dog. Did I at the time feel that accidents happened? Yes. But that was before finding out that there were multiple fights and multiple people in the area that are deathly afraid of this dog due to similar incidents. I don't feel in any way, as it's been stated before, that it's my fault that this happened. It is not my fault that her dog bit me. I am in no way whatsoever a violent person. I did not in any way provoke that dog. He came out the other door, she failed to restrain him, bottom line. And in regards to the day she came to get rent, week or whenever it was, the following month, I did take time to ensure that my dog was restrained due to the fact that I understand the territorial thing with animals, I do. But it took me a moment to put him away to ensure that nothing did happen. And when I moved into the home, it was before we physically were living there, I had made it quite clear, that, once we have the dogs here, because at the time I had 2, I would prefer you not enter the home without us there.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? Because we are now living there at that point, And that is why, that's where that comment came from. And due to the fact that, territorial, I would not physically enter somebody's home when they were not home to begin with.
That's not been the case. She has not entered your home.
Yeah, no, and she has not. But that's where that text message and that, me saying, hey, the dogs are out here, don't, and
Okay,
please don't.
fair enough. Yes, sir, you are.
Joseph Fleming. On that note, we did not tell her, don't come to the house. We just said, don't go in the house if anyone's home. If you come to the house,
Landlord don't necessarily enter.
We're not allowed to without giving 24-hour notice.
48 hours.
And what we told her was, is that we're not sure, but better safe than sorry, don't, we don't know. Because Zeus has never been anyone, but he is protected. So we just weren't able to, hey, just in
Zeus is a
case.
German Shepherd, a 7-8-year-old
Yes.
German Shepherd.
That was it on that note.
Okay. All right, Mr. Tanza, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'd just like to, I'm going to put on my town agent hat, and my concern is that, again, I have no axe to grind, but we have to be careful about the town being protected in the event that something happened, and if we're proactive, then it keeps the town away from the court system. But in the event that something did happen and we didn't follow through with it, that's what we're here for. One of the questions I had is that you say the dog would let people come up to the house and so forth, but yet a state policeman went up there and he was bit. Did the state policeman provoke Gucci?
I really don't know what happened because I wasn't out there to watch what happened to Mr. Valcourt. I know my dog was tased. He did tell me that there might be some things in my dog. The only thing I saw, as I recall, is his jumping. No, he did jump on you, right, Mr. Valcourt?
The incident which you're referring happened on about May 21st, 2015. Myself and another trooper came to the door. We knocked. We had a communication through the door. We could hear the dog on the other side. We spoke to you through the door. We asked you to step out so we could speak with you. While you were exiting the door, the dog came to the edge of the door. You struggled with the dog momentarily to try to keep the dog inside of the home. At which point you lost control of the dog. The dog erupted from the home. I happened to be closest to the door when the dog lunged at me. At that time, it went towards my hand, and I actually pulled my hand out of the maw as it closed, and it nipped both sides of my wrist, causing blood on both sides of the wrist. The dog's momentum kept it going forward down the stairs towards the pool. At that time, myself and Trooper Hudon both attempted to taser the dog. We didn't get 2 probes into the dog, so it didn't affect the dog. At such time, you exited the home, charged the dog, and were able to control it, grab it down in the area of the pool. So that's...
But did you show me the bite? Was I aware of that bite that day? Did you say, hey, your dog bit me?
I believe that was communicated, yes, ma'am.
I believe you said you need to keep control of your dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you didn't, do you physically remember pulling up your thing and showing me that my dog had bit me, had bit you?
I believe it was mentioned, yes, ma'am.
So that's one of the things that the hearing does, it's what we call a quasi-judicial hearing this evening, is that was the dog provoked? Was there prior knowledge of the dog's behavior, questionable behavior, and safety of people on your property? And was there trespassing that occurred on the property? And so that's what we're just trying to establish at this point. Is there anybody else who would like to speak from the public before I ask the select board if they have anything to comment?
I would like to say
Anthony,
something.
what would you like to say?
What I'd like to say is, if the dog was so vicious and he's gotten out multiple times, why has there not been a bite reported off the property?
Well, as I said, there have been other bites that have happened that we have heard of.
On the property.
People often are not comfortable in pressing charges against their neighbors for obvious reasons. And so that's their personal prerogative to whether to report or to work with Beverly in covering the medical bills and such. So we're going to try to look for some relief between the respondent and the complainant that would be beneficial for everyone, and that we know that everyone was heard, and that this is a forum that we can try to establish, the
Can I add one?
ordinance is being followed. So,
And I also have a 1-year-old son that has lived in the house since he was born, and the dog has never once showed aggression.
But again, dogs, when they know people and have been raised with people, they don't usually show aggression.
Right, that's why there's a no trespassing sign on the tree.
But I guess what he's saying, like, Adam stated that our dog was up there. Now, if a dog is vicious, they're gonna get to that person. Now, why did Gucci not bite Nicole and her
so
daughter?
that's what
That's a
we were
question.
deliberate about, because there's a difference between a vicious dog and a reactive dog.
Territorial.
Reactive dog. Select board, any final questions you might have?
Did you want to know? Okay.
No, I'm good.
So to follow up on Anthony's question, is anyone aware of the dog biting anyone off the property? Okay. Jessica, one thing was the previous portion of the hearing, you said you were unaware of any signs posted?
I don't recall seeing any the day I was there.
Okay.
I not saying they couldn't have been, I just did not personally see them.
Okay. So you weren't saying there were no signs? You just didn't notice if there were?
I didn't know yet.
Okay. All right. I might have one more, but others can go on because I'm trying to remember. Oh, I've got it now.
Go for it.
I want to get the name right. Is it Officer Valcourt?
Trooper Valcourt, yes,
Trooper
sir.
Valcourt. Okay. There seems to be a little, not pattern because it's just 2 incidents, but of people being outside the door and the dog going after someone who's outside the door. I understand the territorial thing. Did you feel that Gucci was at all provoked by you, or and to double on that, does Gucci have a reaction to someone in a uniform at all?
No, because we've had several police officers at my house, both at 74 and 92. I had a cop go all the way through my house at 74. No issues.
With Gucci present?
Gucci was there.
Okay. And do you think there was anything that provoked, or you were just standing there talking to Becca?
No, at that time, we were trying to have a conversation with Ms. Waters and invited her out of the home to speak a little more freely. You don't have to yell through her door. I know in prior professional encounters that typically she would exit the home so we don't have the dog outside the home with us, or we're not in the house with her with the dog.
Okay. All right. So it seems like it was unprovoked, reactionary for both incidents. Okay.
Anybody else on the select board? Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
I do want to add, did he bite you after you tased him or before?
No, that
Do
was...
you recall?
Yes, ma'am. Once he broke your grasp at the door and exited, he had lunged forward, and that's when the bite occurred. And at that lunge, as I pulled my hand out, he continued down the ramp due to his momentum. At that point, myself and Trooper Hudon attempted to tase the dog. I don't think we didn't get 2 darts in him, because otherwise he would have reacted to it. I think maybe 1 dart entered the dog.
I believe
Maybe.
there was a few.
I pulled a couple.
Yeah, there
Okay.
was
If-
quite a few, because you said there would be quite a few.
Well, there's 2 darts per trooper, so we both attempted to taser the dog. If the 2 darts from the single taser makes contact, the dog would have been incapacitated. So it might have been 1 dart from each trooper, but it doesn't make a complete circuit. That's why it wouldn't have affected the dog.
Right.
So the bite occurred prior to our attempts to subdue the dog.
Okay.
I have 2 more.
Yes, sir. That's what this is for.
Right.
That's what-
So it seems like too with both incidents, it was coming from inside the house to outside the house. Is there anything where we've witnessed, where there's anyone's ever witnessed Gucci going after someone while already being outside, or even while chained, or anything like that?
No, I have
Where
plenty
you can
enough
see
people.
someone approaching and he gets agitated or anything?
No.
Okay. My
There's
second-
nothing on record to that effect either.
Second question is, I don't know your name in the red.
Christopher Thomas.
Christopher Thomas. You wrote one of these things about Gucci not being aggressive, correct? So would you like to state, since it's not notarized, would you like to state on the record your testimony for that?
I mean, I've never been afraid of Gucci. I moved to California and came back. He still knew who I was, and I've never been afraid of him. He's never tried to attack me or anything. And there's always been a sign posted as private property.
And so it says you lived with Beverly for 2 years now. So
Yes.
you were gone for a few years. How long have you known Beverly? How long have you known Gucci?
I've known Beverly for about 2.5, 3 years almost, and maybe a month into me knowing Beverly, I met Gucci.
Okay. Is anyone else here who also wrote one of these letters? No? Okay. I'll say Nike shirt. I don't know who you are. Do you have anything to add? Okay. And I think this is another son. Yeah.
Oh, Kyle.
Do you have anything?
Has the dog ever been aggressive towards you?
No. I have a question though.
Okay.
Did he ever make a report on the dog bite?
Trooper
Trooper Valcourt did communicate both to the animal control officer and to myself, the select board, about the incident that occurred that day.
And I'd also like to say something.
This is Anthony's.
Yeah, in the beginning, even when Jeff and my mom first got together, the dog didn't even know Jeff, and he came right into the house with no problem at all. I bring multiple friends over, never have a problem with the dog. Never aggressive towards my nieces. Nothing. And
Well, that was the purpose of this evening's hearing, and we did suspend it till tonight for two reasons. One, you weren't well, and we also had backup meetings because of the snowstorm the previous day. And that is to hear testimony on your behalf or on your dog's behalf to indicate its ability, how you should be classified. And the job of the select board in trying to provide a safe environment for the neighbors and other people in the town is to make sure that people follow the ordinance, that the dogs are licensed and kept up on their rabies. And the development of a protective order would be based upon our evidence, and the protective order could include requiring, again, like you were, leashing, chaining, muzzling. Also could be requiring the dog to be neutered, to transfer to another person, to be put through animal training, and so on and so forth. So those are the things that we'll discuss shortly. But is there anyone else who'd like to say anything on the record before we make a motion? Chris?
I'll just ask one last question and then I think I'll be done. In terms of another thing that sounds like a common occurrence for both of these incidents are people coming to the door and knocking. Is Gucci reactive to all knocks on the door? So that it would
He
be like a
barks,
common
but
place.
that's with most dogs.
No, I know.
He just barks.
Okay. All right.
He doesn't jump on the door.
Okay.
We've had
So
several.
if I came to your house, knocked on the door, what would I expect? Bark?
Bark.
Okay, bark.
Barking.
All right. Go ahead, Jessica.
I want to add in there that it has been stated or said that I have a vicious dog as well. Obviously, I do not. That Miss Waters and her granddaughter have been in my home with Mr. Thomas to fix something and played with my dog.
I think what was said was it's territory.
Yeah,
No, it was stated in a unofficially stated that he was vicious as well, and I want to make
Well,
sure.
that was one of the reasons why I asked you to do temperament testing and had your dog come into town hall and evaluated him, because there was a combination of vicious dog and, I just wanted to clarify that I know the difference between a vicious dog and a reactive dog, and I think when we deliberate, we'll.
Is there temperament testing available for Gucci?
Yeah, because we have Gucci, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
sounds like that'd be a good idea, right?
We're okay with it. I mean, if you're gonna do it with one dog, you should do it with
I have
both.
to be extending this hearing to another day.
We'd be more than happy to on our behalf.
I mean, it seems fair to allow that.
I'd be for
I'm not on the board, so I don't have a.
I would be for it.
Yeah, I would too.
I think since it's available, are you comfortable with?
I think we should discuss it in deliberation.
Well, that can be part of it, that can be part of our protective order request.
That's true.
That would be fun. So, if there anybody else would like to speak? All right, hearing none, I'd like to make an motion to, I'm following the rules, you all have the same copy here. Final questions have been asked. Upon motion and majority approval, the chair shall either adjourn the hearing to a time and date certain, which is what we did last time, or close the proceedings by stating this in a final public hearing on the matter. So I'd like to make a motion that we close the proceedings, and this is the final public hearing on this matter.
I second it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning this final hearing on the Beverly Waters dog complaint, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all approved. At this point, the select board is going to go into what is called a deliberative session, which is a private session in which we will discuss the evidence that has been presented in these two-part hearings, and we will be setting forth the findings of the facts, the conclusions of law and order for the domestic pet or wolf hybrid, and it will be rendered in a writing to the owner of the domestic pet or wolf hybrid by certified mail, return requested within 30 days, but you're going to get it before March 9th, because I don't want to, we're going to get it done this weekend. We'll deliberate, I'll take the notes, I'll type up the report and send it out to you, and I'll send a copy also to the complainant.
Excellent.
Okay. So thank you very much for everyone for coming. Appreciate this is what the hearing was for.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So you're dismissing the public to go into deliberative session?
Dismissing the public to go into deliberative session, and the results will be in writing. It will not. We're not going to come out of the session and give an oral report, because we don't know how long it's going to take us to come up, and we have to write up some notes and things. So, all right. Thank you all very much for coming this evening. The meeting is now over at 5 minutes of 8 p.m. I would like to make a motion that we exit the deliberative session of the vicious dog hearing at this time, which is 9:07 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? My discussion will be that I will type up a report based upon our comments and suggestions for order of protection, and will provide that by certified mail to the respondent with a copy to the claimant, and we will be doing that shortly in this month, in March. So all those in favor of coming out of executive session?
Of adjourning.
Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, 9:08.